Hello, everybody. This is Tyler Preston 20. I'm here with Faye again, and today we're gonna talk about the platform.
Yay!
So, prior to the platform, have you seen any other movies from Spain?
Just Pan's Labyrinth. That would be the only one that I've seen. That's a Spanish movie.
Yeah, I only seen. Let's see, this movie. I also saw Pan's Labyrinth, and of course, this does not count as a movie. It's a TV show. It's like the money heist stuff,
Mm.
and it was also really good too. What else? I also seen some random movies with Antonio Banderas, but I don't know any of the names right now because been a long time since I've seen those kind of movies. It was like I think it was something about the skin underneath my skin or whatever, where it was like I think he was like some sort of surgeon, and he turned like some sort of guy into a or whatever. It was
Right.
like the weirdest movie ever though.
They do have some strange concepts, but I enjoy them.
Yeah. So prior to this movie, I actually seen some movies from Spain, and I also saw like random movies from Mexico. So I'm kind of, I guess, not as big as I want to, but like I still know some stuff from those kind of places.
Mm.
What's your initial thoughts after you saw like the platform?
I didn't really understand the ending, but I have been told by other people who've seen it that that's the point. Um, I'm not sure that it was. I'm sure if I rewatched it, I might get a better understanding of it. I thought the concept was really, really interesting. I had never seen something like that before, especially when it comes to things like cannibalism. I think that a lot of like Western media kind of steers away from it because it's weird and gross.
Yeah, the only real movies that deal with like cannibalism that I know anyway have been like mostly horror movies.
Mm,
Like back in the 1980s, there was a movie that was called Cannibal Holocaust, and to this very day is like still very controversial and is still banned in some countries. Now, of course, for my country, it's not banned, but I think for that movie, they released it in your country too, but they had to censor some stuff because of the controversy. And so I know about Cannibal Holocaust. There was also
Silence of the
movies.
Lamb. It's
Let's
probably
see
the
what
most
else. It
famous
was
one.
also I think it was Hannibal Lecter is also another one that's I guess kind of mainstream.
Yeah, but even then, it's not. I don't know. I think that there's this. I mean, it's it makes sense that it's weird, right? But
Right.
it is this sort of aversion to eating people that I think that Western media kind of refrains from, even with like dystopian fiction, which in my mind would be the most obvious thing to portray that in.
Right. Because prior to me watching this movie, I did not know I never seen a concept like that. I mean, I guess maybe it's not original, but this is like the first time I kind of seen this sort of concept. Now, the plot, of course, is I guess I guess you could say it's simplistic, whatever.
It's a very
Well,
simple plot. Yeah.
yeah, it's like all these people are just like trapped into these different sort of levels, and what they have to do is there's like a whole entire table just going down level by
Mm.
level, and they just keep eating and eating and eating and eating. And so after they keep eating the food, it's like it repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. But once the table is just gone,
Yeah.
then they start to eat each other.
Yeah, I mean, in that way, it is very simplistic. But the way that I read it is that so there's a group of chefs or scientists or whatever, and they're doing like this social experiment, if we can call it that, and they've put people on above of like 300 levels, and on the first level, those are the people who get the most food, and then whatever they've left over, the second level gets, and then it goes lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And I think the overall message of the movie is like human selfishness, and how if you're starving, while being on one of the lower levels. It doesn't matter how high your ideals were in the beginning about, oh, we should keep the food as sparse as possible or whatever, so that everyone has a chance to eat. It doesn't really matter if those were your ideals going into it, because no one else is going to do it. You'll you'll gorge yourself if you're on one of the higher levels.
Right, it's kind of sad too. Like,
Hmm.
it comes down, yeah, like you said, to selfishness because when the people are just eating the food, they don't really think about everybody else. They only
Mm.
think about themselves because I guess their hunger matters more than everybody else.
Hmm.
And so that's why they keep trying to grab place in place of food. Now, the movie does not focus on all different characters. It's like focus on this one character, and I forgot his name of it right now, but like it focuses on one character towards the beginning.
Hmm.
It was him and also some sort of old man.
Hmm.
And what's so funny about it is like the old man had this sort of catchphrase, which is like, what was it? Something.
Obviously,
Obviously, yeah, it's like obviously. He's like obviously,
it was
and
his
so
catchphrase. Yeah,
yeah, and so it seemed as though that they were trying to get to know each other towards the beginning, and then after all, trying to get to know each other, they immediately turned their back against each other towards like the last bit of food on the table.
yeah. He like ties his partner up on a table and is like cutting little pieces of him to eat. It's
Yeah, like I won't lie, like there's very few movies that disgust me out. Like very, very few.
it was gross.
That was like so disgusting. Like when I saw it's so it looks so realistic too.
Um, I think that's exactly why sort of more Western portrayals of things like this aren't as disgusting. In terms of the spectrum of like human emotion and stuff, disgust is something that we feel quite instantaneously because it is one of the things that we evolved to have in order to survive. Um, and I thought one of the reasons why I liked the movie was because of how visceral my response was to everything. Like even the beginning where he was on like a middling platform where it was like 60 or something, and there were just leftovers on the table. The concept of even eating 59 people's leftovers
It's disgusting.
is gross.
Yeah. Yeah, like at least when you're all the way up to the top, you don't have to worry about the leftovers, but when you go down and down and down, like you have to worry about like the people eating after each other.
Yeah.
It
And
becomes more cross contaminated.
And I think like as the movie goes on, your like tolerance for disgust gets lower and lower and lower. Um, because you see the main character go through like these higher levels to like really, really low levels and then back up again. Um, and still he has like this weird um moral sort of thing, like he's constantly going through his own mind and trying to be a good person, and I think that that's really interesting.
What's also interesting was like towards the beginning, after he kills the old man,
Mm.
was that there was this woman or like some sort of teenager, whatever. She was on the table, and then once she went to the next level, she starts to attack people. But then after that, like we see her again after the old guy tries to kill him, and she just does not attack him.
Yeah, I don't know what that I didn't fully understand it. I knew that the woman was there to find her son. That was the whole concept. Like there was a woman who like traveled down with the platform in order to find her son. Every day she would do that, and every day she would either kill people because people would be, especially, well, I mean, I'm assuming men would be weird about her being on the table. Um, yeah, I didn't fully get it. And then like at the end they find the kid. Um, I didn't get the ending. Like it doesn't make any sense to me what the ending was.
And so the next thing that happened, of course, was that he was like with some sort of room with I guess
Mhm,
like a secretary or whatever for the whole entire scientific experiment. And then we kind of cut back to like a flashback
mhm,
of him trying to sign up to be part of this whole entire experiment.
mhm. Because he wanted to quit smoking or something.
Yeah, yeah. And so what's so strange is like you get to see like these sort of visions of him looking at the old man and stuff.
Mhm.
But then
It's a
also it's
weird
kind of
movie.
strange like
It's
besides him, sorry, you can go on.
it's a really weird movie.
Yeah.
Like the concept is very, very simple, but the other stuff that goes on, and obviously, like because you're seeing it through sort of the purview of the main character, a lot of it just is delirium, and it doesn't make any sense. Um, but it's
Yeah, it's
good.
like I'm still trying to think, like trying to process this whole movie. Even though it's been like a week since I've seen this movie, I'm still trying to process
Mm,
everything that I saw.
yeah, it there's a lot that goes on for such a simple movie.
It really is. Like besides the main plot points, like have you seen any sort of hinted messages for like the movie, like anything that caught your attention?
Not really. I mean, I came away with a lot of questions, like how that child survived for so long on the
Uh,
lowest platform. If there was like something more to it, like he was supposed to be like this evolved piece human that could just live without food or something. I don't know. There were other concepts, like there was that Bible thumping guy who came in towards the end, who was like trying to tell everyone as he went down that if we share the food, we can all have something to eat. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. For the most part, it was just a weird movie, but it's interesting.
yeah, it's like definitely an experiment, or like you shall you definitely experimental,
Mm.
experimental, and also very very strange because I don't think I ever seen a movie like that before. And it's really interesting that, of course, that it's actually from Spain because again, like we're not really familiar with like a lot of movies from Spain, so it's actually an interesting first impression, really.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Pan's Labyrinth a lot. For a really, really long time, it was one of my favorite movies. When I watched it in Spanish, oh, that's something else. If you're gonna watch the platform, don't watch the dub. It's awful. Uh,
I didn't watch the dub actually. I just pure Spanish.
yeah, watch it in Spanish with subtitles if you don't know Spanish. Just don't watch the dub. It's a terrible dub. Um,
That's the case for most dubs though. Like most of it is like really terrible. Like when I watch like old dubs of these kung fu movies, they're just so bad that they're
oh, they're
good.
so bad. They're so bad.
So
Um,
bad. The only kind of dubs that I could actually tolerate nowadays, maybe some dubs for anime, but even then, it's like depends on the dub for the anime.
if I'm gonna watch an anime, I always watch it with subtitles, or if they've like made it in English.
Right. Because like the only real good dub on the top of my head that I can think of right now is probably like Cowboy Bebop.
I haven't seen that one yet. It's on my list.
Oh
So is
wow.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. They're both on my list.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, and it also kind of makes more sense because like it takes place like in sort of like Western setting, and
mm,
so it doesn't make any sense to have it in Japanese either. So I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
it doesn't make sense geography. But
um,
anyway, like it seems as though like also besides like all these freaking characters and everything else, what also caught my attention is like the lighting and how the movie is shot because like there's different types of different colors and how they shoot stuff. It's also really nice to see it in motion.
yeah. I mean, it had a lot of concepts in terms of it was really, really good at knowing how to punish people, I think.
Mm.
So like if anyone kept food from the table, then the room would go really, really hot or really, really cold. Um,
I think my favorite part of the movie has to be like towards the end when he starts to work with like this black guy to just try to get out
Yeah.
because like it's all this participation. Like, how are you gonna escape from this place? And then he finally finds a way to do it by just keep going level to level to level to level.
Yeah, there was this weird intermission where the black guy sees like a guy in a wheelchair and they like know each other
Yeah.
and there was like this little well, I mean, I think that the 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 thing that the movie was trying to tell us is that if you want people who are in a dire situation to cooperate, there's a certain level of dictatorship that has to happen. Otherwise, it won't work. I guess. I don't know. Because they would like
Yeah.
beat people up if people try to take more food than they specifically said they could.
I never actually thought about it that way. I never thought about it that way. Actually, that's the first time I probably thought about it until you mentioned it. So,
Yeah,
wow.
it was an interesting concept, but I don't know.
What's your favorite moment for the movie?
My favorite moment, it's really difficult because the movie is so weird. Like it's so weird. It's probably that last portion where he teams up with the guy to because it also shows me that the main character had like this semblance of hope that something could work and he was willing to try stuff.
Yeah.
um that was probably my favorite part, even though I don't really get the ending because they just kind of walk off and then like the old guy is there at the end as well. um so I don't know if the main character died or
Yeah, I'm not sure either because it just ends just like that. It seemed to be very open ended.
mm.
So I still have no idea what happened after.
No, I feel like I have to watch it again to see if I've missed something.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like movies nowadays, when I watch them, you don't really have to watch it again and again to understand like the messages behind it.
Mm,
There's like very few movies nowadays that actually does it. Let's take for example a movie like A Clockwork Orange. When I
mm.
watched that movie, like I did not like it initially, but then after watching it again and again and again, I started to like it more and more and more.
I do like movies that kind of live in your brain. Like you watch it the first time and you're like thinking about it for days afterwards or weeks afterwards because it like occupies you with different ideas and different messages that the writer was trying to. I feel like a lot of movies that I'd watch nowadays, like a lot of nonsense movies, um, they're very very simple to take in and understand all of the none of the concepts are so deep that they live in your mind. But with the platform, I do think that there was a lot of different ideas that the writers or the director tried to show, and they kind of stay with you. I think the saddest point in the movie was definitely when that woman killed the dog.
Oh yes.
I just knew it was going to happen. It was obvious it was going to happen.
I noticed like the latest media nowadays tend to target dogs. It's not just this movie either,
Mm.
because like there was the new game, The Last of Us Part Two. They also require like the players to kill the dog. So it's like,
Really?
yeah.
Oh no.
Oh man, it's like
I don't
it
know
seems
what
as
it
though
is
like all the
about.
new media, it's like they target dogs now.
I do think that for
That's,
some reason there is studies that show that a lot of people look at dogs in the same way that we look at babies. So I think that there is to some extent some kind of emotional connection we have as a species to dogs.
yeah, because they're
So
looked as companions,
I'm not
right?
gonna lie, like when I've watched the first John Wick movie and the dog dies in the beginning, it broke me. Like
Oh.
I thought that everything that he did for the rest of that movie was just justified for killing a dog. For killing a dog.
It's kind of funny because like when you say it in that kind of perspective, I guess it makes more sense now why you would act that way.
Yeah,
Because like when I saw it for the first time, like you really need to go through this much because of a dog. But I
mm,
guess because you now cited like a study and the
yeah,
psychological reasons on why people would do what they would do for a dog, I guess it makes more sense now. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, and also with dogs, I mean, there's a lot of symbols attached to it. Like, we see them as, man's best friend, their companion animals. They're one of the few animals that actually evolved alongside human beings, unlike a lot of other pets, like horses or cats, who kind of just became our friends and started living with us on a sort of complementary basis. Like, we give you food, therefore you live with us. The dogs have actually grown with us as companions throughout history. So I don't know. I think that there is. I mean, I do not appreciate it from the movie and the video game industry of constantly just playing with my emotions by killing dogs. But I think that there is something a lot more psychologically rooted with using dogs as a symbol or some kind of imagery.
Yeah, like when I saw that woman just killing the dog, I'm like, oh my god, really?
But
Why
like
did you kill the poor?
you knew as soon as that dog was introduced into that movie that that dog is dying. There's no
Uh,
way that dog is gonna survive.
yeah, like even like besides of course the cannibalism and of course eating after like other people and cross contamination,
Mm.
the idea of people just eating dog also disgusts me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just like I think it also speaks to us as people that out of an entire movie where people are killing people to eat each other, we find that the most disgusting thing about that movie is that a dog was killed.
oh my goodness,
What
it's
does that
like
say about people?
I think it like the fact that humans eat each other. I guess maybe it's something I kind of expect,
Mm.
but like when it's the dog, it's like no, 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 no.
Well, I mean, if you were to trade out the dog with a baby, then it makes a lot of sense because you're killing something that's innocent, that's helpless.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think that it made me think a lot about, and also it's one of those movies that makes you insert yourself into the movie. Like, if I was in that position, what would I do? Um,
yeah. Like it would probably the idea of me trying to eat somebody else because of
mm,
this whole entire experiment stuff. I would be disgusted at just of doing that. I can't imagine doing that kind of crazy stuff. It's almost like those kind of reality TV shows of Survivor, where people just do the most batshit crazy stuff to survive.
yeah, I question how much of that is reality, but I mean,
I mean, art reflects reality, and reality reflects art.
mm, it was an interesting movie regardless, and I do want to watch it again.
So, what would you rate the movie?
The thing is, I can't give it like a really high score just because of how confusing it was.
Would
As
you
in,
say it's like above average or something?
I would say it's like a 6 or a 7, definitely.
Okay.
In terms of how much it sort of lived with me, I would say that it hit like a 10 because it has like this replay value. Um, but in terms of a movie as a whole, it would probably be a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, as far as like the whole like fucking up my mind stuff, I'll give it like a 10.
Mm, yeah.
But as far as like I guess the general plot and everything out and how everything played out, I would probably give it like yeah,
I feel like there
a seven,
wasn't. Did
yeah,
you
a
get this
seven.
feeling like while I was watching it? I feel like the writer was just making it up as they went. Like they started with a concept, and then they just sort of went with like a thought experiment. Like, oh, okay, now we're gonna put him in this position. Now that lady's gonna kill this guy. You know, they didn't actually have a plan.
Hmm. Yeah, because like I cannot imagine just being a writer just trying to come up with like the plot because there's
Mm.
like so many different structures for plot
Yeah,
because you start with the the beginning, then the middle, then the end.
but I also feel like for like these kind of dystopian,
Yeah.
like survival movies, that's probably the best way to make them. Rather than having something planned, you start with a concept and then you see where it goes. And that's what it felt like. Well, like while I was watching it, it just felt like the writer was just making it up as they went along.
Right, because like it seems, of course, the movie itself is strange. So I guess for the writer to make up stuff while it still happens, makes
Mm,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, but
So
that's a
anyway,
really
I think we
great.
covered all grounds for this movie. Is there anything else you want to add?
Not really. It was a good movie. You should watch it. It's fun. It's a fun movie to. Well, fun might be a stretch, but it's an
Fun.
movie. It's an interesting movie, if nothing else.
Okay, look, two things before we sign out. Okay, the next movie I recommend for us to watch
Mm.
is a movie called Chance.
Chance.
It's like a movie from Panama.
Okay. Is it
It's
on
like
Netflix?
really funny though. Like it has subtitles and everything, but it's on YouTube for free. It's called Chance.
It's on YouTube.
Yes, for free.
Okay.
And I'll give you the link after the stream.
Okay, sure.
And the second thing is like tell people, of course, your social media before we sign out.
People know me at this point. Like, you can find me at Faye the Most Gracious, and on Twitter, I exist as well.
All right, and I guess I don't need to say my social media. I'm everywhere. All right, take care, guys, and we'll see you all next time. Bye bye.